Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Life Science Rundown, the podcast where we discuss current regulatory complexities facing the life science industry and explore innovative ways to overcome those challenges. I am your host, Nicholas Catman, President and CEO of the FDA Group. Before we get started, here's a quick word about who we are. The FDA Group is a technology and consulting firm that helps life science companies in the areas of regulatory submissions, audits, mock inspections, staff augmentation, and remediation. So if you find yourself in need, just head over to the fdagroup.com to check us out and get in touch. So today we are going to be discussing how can life science organizations turn inspection readiness into a strategic advantage by building a robust quality management system and a strong, sustainable quality culture. So my guest today is Yeime Martich. Hey, Yeime, how are you?
Hey Nick, I'm doing great. Nice to
Excellent.
see you.
Thank you so much for joining me. So before we jump into the podcast, would you kindly introduce yourself?
Absolutely. So Yeime Martich, as you said, so I have been working with pharmaceutical industry, drugs and devices for the last 25 years. And I'm a computer system engineer, but I have been dedicated all of my career in compliance and building quality systems that are healthy and robust and supporting the organizations that I have worked for on being inspection ready. So I'm very happy to discuss and go through this podcast today to see what we can support other people on these topics.
Excellent. Well, without further ado, let's jump right in. So, what do most life science organizations, or I'm sorry, rather, why do most life science organizations still treat inspection readiness as a reactive exercise rather than a strategic capability?
Well, I think historically, what the companies see inspections is this is an event that is going to happen at some point based on the health authority's schedule, right? And we need to make sure that we pass with good grades.
Hmm.
But that shouldn't be the intention. That should be making sure that your quality system is healthy. And if you do so, if you establish the processes, systems, and procedures in place, and make sure that the employees and the people that are going to be presenting during inspections know how to, that shouldn't be a struggle to be preparing for an inspection weeks before. It should be something that is embedded to the process, that is part of the day-to-day activities. So it's the view that the companies do. So when organizations treat the readiness strategically, they flip that thinking. So they design systems that are always in a state of control so that you don't have to be prepared for a couple of weeks. That's something that you will be ready at all times.
Okay, makes sense. So what does inspection readiness as a competitive advantage actually look like in practice, not just in theory?
So for me, it's confidence and speed, not perfection. So you don't have to be 100% in check on everything. You just need to be able to confidently present the activities that you do on a daily basis. So I always say that you need to set for being minimally compliant, meaning that, the bells and whistles we add later on, but we need just to make sure that we understand what the requirement is. What was the intention of the requirement, right? Because sometimes we put things in our procedures and processes that are impossible to comply with. That looks really well on paper, but you need to make sure that you can execute those activities so that you can be advantageous for the business so that those activities and acquisitions and businesses that needs to happen, QA can support those.
Mm. Yeah, I know that's where a lot of companies get dinged from the FDA is not necessarily that they didn't have the proper procedures in place, but they're not following them, right?
Right. And
Yeah.
sometimes we overcommit to what the regulation asks for, and we add things that we can be judged for, but are not supposed to because it's not even in the regulation.
Right.
Sometimes we inherited those requirements, so we have to be careful with that.
How does a well-designed quality management system move beyond compliance to actively support business growth and innovation?
So for me, a strong QMS doesn't slow innovation. We need to be able to go with the business flow and remove uncertainty. We as quality, the quality organization needs to make sure that we provide those tools to the business so that they can take decisions quickly, that we can take risk-based decisions, right? And we are enablers. We're not the ones saying no to everything, but we come to the table with options. This is the risk, these are the options that we have to be compliant and then kind of guide them. So with that, business integrations can be accelerated because we are capable of doing vendor selection more quickly, right? We can do geographic expansions easily because we can manage multiple regulations from different countries.
Mm.
So how the quality management system is built will definitely support expansion and innovation.
Okay. What would you say are some of the most common gaps that you see between documented quality systems and how quality is actually lived day to day?
Like I think, as I mentioned before, you can have procedures on paper that look amazing, but in reality, people are going to follow whatever they feel is okay or is more practical to do or to execute during operations. So we need to make sure that procedures are in alignment with not just regulation, but practice. Like the regulation that all saying say you can, the regulation will tell you what to do, not how to do it. This is what we need to apply in our procedures, right? There's multiple ways of doing and things and being compliant. We need to make sure that our procedures align with what is suitable and easy for the operators to execute when they are performing manufacturing. But same with quality system employees, making sure that those procedures just allowed for them to be compliant.
Mm-hmm. I want to dig a little bit deeper into the question I asked you earlier, as it pertains to how can organizations design a QMS that scales with growth, especially when there's rapid expansion, mergers and acquisition, commercialization, etc.
For me, you need to make sure that your quality management system is flexible.
Mm.
So when you set the requirements in a way that there's only one way to get there, there's only one way to execute, you are limiting yourself to expanding. You're limiting yourself to different and new products, different and new regulations and requirements. So you need to define a quality system that is flexible in a way that when you get new products, when you get changes in the industry, you are capable to assess those and integrate those without major disruptions into your systems. And when I say flexible, I'll give you an example. I have seen procedures of deviations that said you cannot release a product until the deviations and all of these CAPAs needs to be closed. Well, that is limiting yourself because if there's any CAPA that is still open from a deviation, you can still release the lot. You just have to define that those CAPAs are not related to product disposition, as an example. And believe it or not, there's organizations that draft or craft their quality system in that way that is restricting them to be flexible and to be able to allow to move this or the other way and still being compliant.
Well, I've never seen that.
I
It's
have.
it's usually the exact opposite, but fine. Well, let's talk about leadership. What role would you say they play in shaping a sustainable quality culture, and where do mo leaders most often fall short?
Well, for me, the leadership shapes the culture, but what they ask about, what they fund, and what they tolerate. So
Mm,
understanding what is that they're asking. Are they asking for metrics on how quickly we close deviations versus it could stay open? However, we need to make sure that they are well investigated, that we take good CAPAs to prevent reoccurrence. And then what they fund. Are they funding in systems that are robust? Are they funding on resources that we need to be able to execute a healthy quality management system? or they are restricting quality from having the resources needed because they are allocating resources for sales, like not understanding the value of the quality management system and the quality organization is something that they might fail to do. And also what they tolerate when quality is constantly showing there's a risk in here and they just ignore it. That is something that can create problems and issues in the long run. And then also giving the psychological safety to quality and all employees to speak up and say, I feel like these things are not working properly. I think that we should shift resources this way or the other. That also allows for us to have a healthy quality management system. And then, senior leadership has to be able to provide that information and give the quality assurance department that reassurance that quality matters, and then spread that across the organization. When they don't take seriously management review, when they don't understand the criticality of quality risk, right? That definitely are some of the things that they fall short. But I also believe that the quality organization needs to make sure that we accompany the senior leadership by just presenting them the facts and telling them the importance of our decisions and how quality is an enabler for sales and operations, right? So if you cannot release a product, you cannot have sales. And kind of teaching them and guiding them on why it is important, the quality organization. So I think they do have responsibilities, but we as quality also have responsibility to guide them on the importance and criticality of our judgment and our decisions.
Yeah. And you talked about the fact about psychological safety and feeling comfortable to speak up. I know oftentimes the quality is perceived as being the police, right? So how can quality systems shift that perception to more one of being a trusted strategic partner?
I think it's quality needs to do better, and I think in our organization we're doing really well at that, at explaining the functional areas and the senior leadership team that we are here to protect you and protect the company, and most importantly, protect the patient, right? So we need to show them the why. Why is that things can and cannot be done? If there is a risk, right? Can we take these control risks? What are the mitigations we need to take before we take those risks? And what will be the consequence if we don't do so, right? It's more of accompanying them and telling them, I'm here to support you. I'm here to tell you what can be done and what cannot, but I'm also giving you options, right? I'm not policing, I'm not saying no to everything. I'm open to being compliant differently. I can release a product on risk to the warehouse, right? So we don't lose the spam to manufacture the product. And that I'm helping you. However, I'm not going to release it to market until I have this investigation closed, for example.
Okay. I almost had to sneeze and it went away. So what would you say are some behaviors, metrics, or signals that to you would indicate a strong quality culture and, beyond just successful inspections?
Well, for me, a strong quality culture don't hide issues. They are
Mm,
open to surface those issues. So when people are open to come to quality and say, hey, I messed up, I have this situation, how can we fix it? That is a strong signal that the quality culture is what it's supposed to be. So we need to make sure that we give that openness. We allow the functional areas to be open, that they are engaged to come and talk to us, right? And present the facts. We shouldn't be pointing fingers and blaming others. We're in the same boat, right? Things happen. That's why there's a CAPA system. Deviations happen, and the regulations allows for that, right? So let's learn from what happened and let's fix it, but not start blaming. So when you are open as a quality organization to listen, to support, and to guide, I think that definitely defines the quality culture.
Okay. How should companies prepare their people, not just their documentation, for regulatory inspections?
Well, preparing is a competence, right? It's not a script. It's not something that they can just read in front of an investigator, for example, since we're talking inspection readiness. Employees should be able to explain what they do, how they do it, and how that is linked to the requirement, right? How is that what they do is linked to the procedures, and even further, how is that linked to patient safety, directly or indirectly, right? So you need to expose employees to present what they do. And you can do that through internal audits, self-assessment. You can even do certain things that we do, like multifunctional meetings where everybody says, okay, this is how the work that I do, how does that impact your department, or how does that impact patient? And having those regular conversations and exercising, explaining what you do. Tell me how this investigation was conducted. Like having that constant training to people will support for them being comfortable in front of an inspection, other than just looking into the documents, because you might have someone with the printed SOP in front of an investigator. They will read it, but it's not going to match what they're doing.
Hmm.
So it's giving that confidence and exercising all the time, through internal audits. So making sure that the administrator of an inspection, for example, is comfortable putting the SME in front of the auditor instead of you presenting everything. If that cannot happen, then you need to revise how you're working, because the SMEs are the best ones to present because they are the one executing the activities.
Yeah, let's dig a little deeper into that. So, what would you say is some of the biggest risks that companies face when they over-optimize for inspection outcomes rather than system health?
Well, I think when you're so focused on passing an inspection, you lose the perspective of compliance. You need to be ready all the time, right? So when you are focused on that and focus on good metrics, people will not open up to report issues. They were not gonna escalate because metrics and results of inspections matter that much that they are not confident to come and surface the problems, right? So every time we have an inspection, if it's announced, what I tell the employees is there's only two outcomes of this. First, we have no findings. We celebrate, we keep doing what we do. If we have findings, we just learn from that, we improve our systems, and we move on. So you have to give the room for employees to understand that we might have findings, right? We don't have to be perfect, but we need to understand and anticipate what the problems will be to prevent them to be found. And if they are found, we're just gonna work together to fix it, move on, and prevent reoccurrence. I think it's
Mhm.
just that type of openness, and not focus too much on measuring metrics and trying that our metrics be perfect, but understanding the why behind why are we doing this well.
I want to expand on that a little bit. Are there examples where you found that somebody wasn't speaking up and was withholding information, and then you found out later on, and then how did you handle it?
Yeah, I have situations where well, not recently, but before, where after the inspection, let's say we had a finding, and then you see the SME where they say, well, I knew because this has been happening. And then we go like, okay, so why didn't you say, well, because last time I speak up, they made a big deal out of it, and I didn't feel comfortable saying it.
Hmm.
Or in the other hand, I have been saying it multiple times, but nobody cares or pay attention, right? So it's important that we understand and we have our eyes open and we bring those conversations, right? It's not just waiting for your employees or the different functions to come to you and say what's wrong. You can have those conversations and ask, what are those things that you will improve in your processes? If we were to have an inspection tomorrow, what are those things that will make you worry to present? And then we go over that and see, okay, if this is keeping you awake, then we need to work on it. Then we need to make sure that we address those issues so that you're comfortable. Because nobody should be in a position where we have findings that we knew about and we didn't address it just because either you didn't pay attention or you didn't feel that the environment was safe for you to surface those.
Hmm. Let's transition into technology. So, technology, digital quality tools, AI, how can that strengthen inspection readiness without undermining ownership and accountability?
Well, that's a topic that we are very into lately. Obviously, the whole industry is trying to see how we're using AI and how we're improving our processes. So I love AI. I see the benefit. I see how the artificial intelligence can improve how we see the metrics, how we analyze, how can process amounts of data in just seconds. It's funny that we were looking the other day, like 2 weeks ago, into a warning letter that FDA published, and they even posted pictures and had to
Oh,
do. Did
you
you see
talk about the
that?
one in India?
Yes.
Oh my
Where
God.
they asked about, okay, so why they didn't do process validation? And then the response was, well, because AI didn't tell us that we had to.
I saw that.
That's exactly listed in the warning letter. And for me, yes, we should rely on certain aspects of artificial intelligence. In fact, FDA implemented ELSA to review the IND and NDAs, and then they can look into that data quicker. But the final responsibility is on the quality organization, is in the people, right?
Hmm.
So we need to use our judgment. We need to analyze the data. And again, I'm not against at all. I love AI. I use it every day, but the accountability ultimately sits with the quality organization, with the people. It's
Yeah.
human judgment what we need.
Yeah. So I've been going to a lot of AI conferences. I Before AI, I read a lot of books. I went to a lot of conferences, did a lot of trainings, and every time I did that, I felt like I was getting an advantage.
Mhm,
But with AI, I'm constantly learning, but it's for a different reason. It's not so I can get an advantage, it's so I don't fall behind,
yeah.
right? That's the way it feels. So anyway, so I've been in AI conferences that are industry specific and ones that aren't. And everywhere you're seeing three words that will be here today and will be here tomorrow, which is human in the loop.
Mhm,
And I think it's really important that we, as leadership, drill down the concept of human in the loop, why it's important,
mhm.
why it's there, why it's not going anywhere, and so that, that accountability will be, be standard.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. As much as we can use AI, it's our final responsibility. AI learns from what we provide. It can hallucinate by having fake data, right? That they can pull from the website or even from our own systems. But in the end, we are responsible. Plus, I don't think AI can replace that judgment of historical things that we have seen, previous experiences, and that gut that tells us, let's take this decision, let's take this risk. I don't think AI will ever replace that. We need to be conscious about that, right? Let's use it, but let's take the final responsibility.
But let's even assume that it does get to that point. It's still not going to take out the human in the loop, right? So if we think about, this is a bad example, but I'm going to use it anyway. Mortgage documents, right?
Uh-huh.
We constantly are signing that we've read everything, which we haven't, right? But that's at your own peril. And I think even as AI gets advanced, you're going to have people signing off saying that they reviewed and approved what was generated. And
Mhm.
so, it's up to them to not treat it like mortgage documents, and make sure that they're going through and actually approving everything because you very well may be right. We may never get to that point, but we're certainly there now, meaning that it does hallucinate, it does make errors, it does not know everything that we know from, a historical standpoint. So definitely important that as we're using this technology that we keep that in mind. I'm also going to be speaking at DIA in June in Philadelphia, and I go on right before Marty McCary, so that's not nerve-wracking. But I'll be talking about AI in the industry, where we are today and where we're going. And I think that's the really exciting thing that about the presentation is I have a hypothesis about what it's gonna look like in 2 to 3 years, and I'm using historical technological revolutions as an example to demonstrate where we're going.
Okay, so
So,
you're projecting on the progress that you have seen historically.
well, I'm projecting on what a mature AI environment looks like,
Mm-hmm.
because we're not there yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have been, I was 2 weeks ago, I believe, I was at the Harvard School of Business Connect meeting, and it was heavily focused on AI. You have some of the genius professors that are working on all of these AI projects, and they all agree that in the end, right, we have the last saying, the ultimate decision. Um, and I think some people are worried about losing their jobs and everything, but this is a cycle. This is not the first time that revolutions like AI has happened, and we still have jobs, right? It's a matter of using the tool cautiously, um, making sure that we're compliant, and then we use our good judgment when taking quality decisions. Because in the end, whatever we do as a quality organization in life science, it's gonna impact our patients, right? So I'm not gonna take a decision just because AI told me if I know indeed that something can go wrong for the patients.
Um, if you were advising a life science company starting today, what are the first three moves they should make to embed inspection readiness into their culture long term?
Well, for me, the first thing would be to design a quality management system that is around lifestyle thinking, not just compliance checklists. You need to see the different approaches and not just compliant and getting ready because you're going to pass an inspection. You need to be compliant and make it a lifestyle, make it a culture, right? Making sure that everybody understand the process, understand the why, understand the impact. And that's even in the regulation. All employees need to understand the impact of the work they do to patient and product quality, right? So don't focus on check, check, check. I have this, I have that. Make sure that you understand why you're doing it, right? And make it simplify it. Don't overcommit. Second, I will think make data integrity and decision transparency non-negotiable. No matter how you make or establish your quality management system, you need to make sure that you cannot compromise patient safety. You cannot compromise integrity because the outcome of that will be catastrophic, right? So you need to make sure that everybody understands that quality, integrity, and compliance needs to happen. And then third is like a combination of two things. First of all, is establishing a good relationship with the senior management team, like we talked before. You need to make sure that they understand the value of quality and then that they can spread the top down. And at the same time, create a psychological safety environment where employees feel comfortable presenting issues and that we don't blame but we support, we guide, we fix, and we learn from our mistakes or from our deviations.
Yep.
I think that'd be my main advice.
That was perfect. Well, Jamie, this has been excellent. Thank you so much for your insight and expertise today. And, for everyone listening, as always, if you find conversations like this valuable, please share it with a colleague or your professional network. Subscribe to get updates of new episodes at thefdagroup.com/podcast and follow the FDA Group on LinkedIn for industry updates and cutting-edge insights. If you'd like to talk about project or resource needs, just head over to thefdagroup.com to touch base. Feel free to connect with me personally on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you all on the next rundown.